Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 410. Andrew here, and I would like to start off complaining. Speaking of AI, the horror, the horror. Now, when I speak of I do not speak of, for example, the functions and algorithms that govern the behavior of enemy combatants in a particular video game. Should I hide behind a crate? Should I shoot? Should I run away, call for friends, throw a grenade? That kind of AI. I don't have a problem with that. No. What I do have a particularly squirmy bug up my butt about is generative AI, particularly the type trained, that are LLMs, large language models. And Jared is shocked. Shocked, he says. Like many companies, I'm sure, the one I'm looking for appears to be going all in on AI. I'm sure that's going to bite him in the ass in the near future. Hey, maybe we should invest in NFTs. Um, I and many others are tasked with evaluating, in our case, ChatGPT and Copilot, which is built on top of ChatGPT, OpenAI's LLM. So it is up to us to evaluate these tools and determine how apt they are at improving our work product, making us more efficient, or making it, helping us output better work. And I've seen the budget for this, and because we're a university, I know we're lacking in funds in a lot of ways, which is why there's a hiring freeze. We're not renewing most of our contractors' contracts. We're not doing any raises or promotions right now. But we are spending money on ChatGPT and Copilot licenses. So that's fun. But though I have the aforementioned squirmy bug up my butt about generative AI, it is my job, in part, to evaluate these products with as open a mind as I can muster. So I am, it's not going to sound like it, I'm sure, but I am genuinely trying to give these products a fair shake. Everyone that I know that is evaluating these products or uses them in their personal life, or has used them in their personal life, love these damn things and is super duper excited about them. I, as is the case with my opinion about some video games, like Journey, which I don't like, or Shadow of the Colossus, which overall I didn't really like, or Ico, which I didn't like, or what are some other big popular things that I just don't like? Um, I don't like generative AI, and the more I learn about it, the more I use it, the less I like it. And I feel like I'm going crazy. Wahaha! Because I feel like I'm missing something. Because everyone else seems to be gung effing ho about this stuff. And the more I use it, the more I learn, the more convinced I am that no one should ever use this shit ever for anything. Maybe a toy, if it wasn't particularly bad for the environment and unethically trained on stolen data. Small things like that. But we'll put those aside, the environmental issues and the ethical issues, and just look at what else that squiggly little bug up my rear end has to say. Um, you know how cigarettes have a label on them that says the Surgeon General doesn't recommend using these because they can cause cancer? You know how food packaging if it contains nuts or if it was put together in a manufacturing facility that manufactures any other product that has nuts in it, it'll say may contain nuts. You know how all the food products have like nutritional information on them? Are you under the impression that the companies behind any of these products put that information on their packaging out of the kindness of their hearts? Because they've got our well-being in mind, us consumers, our well-being in mind, and they're looking out for the little guy. They want us to be they want to facilitate us having the most informed buying decision possible. Do you think that's why those things are on the packaging? No, those things are on the packaging because they legally have to be there. At least in this country. I don't know about any other country. I'm an American, so this is the only country. There are no other countries. I hear about other countries, but as an American, I'm like, nah, it's just us. AI, on the other hand, whether we're talking about ChatGPT or Grok or Copilot, again, which is built on top of ChatGPT, or any of the others, you may have noticed that right next to the or if you are doing a Google search or another search engine like Yahoo or something, and you see the box that has the the AI search results, which you didn't ask for, you will notice a little sentence somewhere near all the AI stuff or the AI prompt, if you're actually using one of the tools, that says something along the lines of chatbot output cannot be verified to be correct, or something like that. It cannot be relied upon to be correct. It says it right there. Now, if you are a human being, you're probably pretty good at pattern recognition. And you might think, they're legally required to do that, ain't they? No. At least not yet. So you have to imagine that the folks who work for OpenAI and XAI and all of these other companies realized that their product was such unbelievable shit that they had to put there. They didn't even wait to be legally compelled. They decided, they took the initiative to put a warning, not buried in the EULA or the terms of service, and believe me, I've read them, it's there and it's horrifying, but actually put something on the front page, on the package, so to speak. They're like, oh man, someone's gonna get hurt. Someone's going to die. Someone's going to try to self-medicate or use this chatbot as a therapist. People are going to get hurt. So we better get out in front of that shit and put this in clear language, as plain as day, right up front, that the output of these chatbots, these LLM chatbots, cannot be trusted to be accurate. Do not trust the output of these things to be accurate. Verify it for yourself. That seems pretty bad. That's like, that's a red flag right there, right? No one at my work seems to care. Huh. Well, okay, sure. So, a month and a half ago, I attended a day-long AI workshop. I have since, slightly before and since, attended several 30-minute to hour-long ChatGPT, Copilot, and the like training sessions. And they all come off as advertisements, commercials, infomercials, like they're trying to sell you something, not trying to teach you how to use it. They seem to be more organized as, look at all the cool stuff you can do with our toy, rather than here's how you use it and get the most out of it. Which is weird, because it's billed as a training session. I already have the damn thing. I need to know how to use it, so it's not constantly wrong whenever it tells me stuff. I'm going to use anthropomorphizing language like ChatGPT told me or said or decided or made something up. It's not a person. It's not actually doing any of those things. I understand that. Just chalk it up to ease of language and understand that I'm anthropomorphizing it, and I understand that ChatGPT, Copilot, all this stuff, not a real person, not actually thinking. I get that. Language is fun, right? So that's another red flag that rather than teaching how to use it properly, these training sessions seem to be more like advertisements, like they're really desperate to sell you this. Now, get in on the ground floor, strike while the iron's hot, because this sounds like a bubble that they know is gonna burst. Do you know something bad is gonna happen? Why are you so eager to get this in as many hands as possible? Um, when let's grab an example here. Smartphones. When smartphones came out, um, or even Blackberries before that, right? Did BlackBerry or Apple or Samsung or any of the companies behind these products have to kick and scream and cry and beg and crawl on their hands and knees and just cajole you into using their products to make your business more efficient, to improve the quality of your work product? How about fax machines? Or, the big copiers that were, combo copiers and scanners and fax machines, right? Did any of the companies behind any of these products have to really, really advertise and market and beg and scrap and scream and try to get you and convince everybody to use their product? No, trust me, bro. This is really awesome. And it can do all these amazing things. No. We bought, these products came out and we immediately saw the value of having a fax machine or being able to scan and copy shit in the office and collate all kinds of documents. We saw the value of, oh, hey, this BlackBerry is better than a pager. Oh, hey, this smartphone is really handy, particularly if I'm not in the office and I'm traveling. I can access my email a lot easier. I can get on phone calls. I can get on video chats. I can look shit up on the internet if need be. I can watch porn. I shouldn't do that at work. Right? No one had to desperately try to convince us to use this. But with LLMs, with generative AI chatbots, they do. By itself, maybe nothing, but that's another waving red flag, if you ask me. You didn't, but if you did, I would have told you that's a red flag. Hell, I told you without even being prompted. I'm just a gregarious guy. Chaos says, I agree, AI currently being pushed should be outlawed. Well, it does need to be regulated. There are certain, I don't know that it's certainly a very nifty technology. There's certainly a lot of very cool applications for it. It's just the way it's being used now is bad, actually. It definitely does need regulation. Unfortunately, in this country at least, our Congress is not set up to actually do anything meaningful at this point. So, probably not. Avoiding lawsuits probably the reason. Yeah, they knew that. They were like, oh shit, people are going to get hurt, people are going to die. Better put that stuff right out front. Don't need to wait until they legally compel us to do that. We better do that right now. Warren says, you mean the same way Microsoft begged people to leave Windows XP and 7? No, kind of the opposite. Now there have been times where where Apple will, where micro, like Warren, like what you said, where Microsoft will come out with a new version of an operating system that works perfectly fine and people like, and we're like, no, we just changed everything. 8 is amazing. You're going to love it. And everyone said, no, we really don't want that. And Microsoft said, tough shit, because we're discontinuing the old one. So, no, not that. Kind of similar to, Apple's like, you're going to want this new iPhone. You need to spend $600, $800, $1,000 on a new model of iPhone every single year. Why would I do that? Because we're not releasing security updates on the old ones anymore. Oh, well, I mean, that is a reason. So back to my adventures evaluating ChatGPT and Copilot. Again, I know you don't believe me, and I don't blame you. Or, let me rephrase that. I know you very likely don't believe me, and I can't say I blame you, but I am genuinely trying to approach this evaluation with as open a mind as I possibly can. So, the shorter training sessions I've all found completely a waste of time because they seem to be advertisements rather than training sessions. However, the day-long work session workshop that I mentioned a few minutes ago, that was a training session. So, all right, day-long, 8-hour training workshop on how the hell to use this ChatGPT Copilot that you guys are spending like $300 and some a month on per license. All right. One of the first thing the gentleman running the workshop, and I was there, a bunch of my colleagues who have the license were there, and a bunch of our upper management people were there, right? Okay. Setting the stage. This was a Zoom call, so we're virtually there. One of the first things that the gentleman running the workshop said to us is he gave us, throughout the day, he basically taught us this. It's like, here are all the cool things you can do with this, and here's the best way to do them. One of his first examples was, I can use ChatGPT to summarize my weekly schedule. And my first thought is, okay, you could also use your calendar and Outlook to do exactly the same thing. And it's not a summary. It's just, here's your schedule for the week. But you can also, I don't know, you may not use Outlook, but there's a bunch of similar programs, and they all work very similarly. They all have very similar functions. You can view it by week, by work week, by month. You can resize it. You can do all kinds of things. So this is an expensive product that can summarize, which means it's leaving something out, and get it wrong. Why would I want ChatGPT to do something worse than a thing I'm already using to do it because it's built to do that? Like, I could... Let me get a prop. Smartphone, right? I could, if I so desired, do math on my smartphone using a calculator. And if I'm like out on a drive or something and I'm stopped at a gas station and I want to calculate something, that's probably what I'm going to go to. But we're talking about a work product. So I'm at work. For me, it's here. So if I'm here working and I need to do math because I'm calculating the taxes for something, I'm not going to use this. I might use the much easier and much more full-featured calculator that's built into my operating system, the Windows. Or I'll use an actual calculator, a tool that's actually built to do that. And here's the difference, but you could use ChatGPT to do math problems. But as it says right under the prompt, you're probably going to want to use a calculator to double check the work because it can't be guaranteed to be correct. Okay, why use it? So, but another thing caught my attention when he said, "Hey, I can use ChatGPT to summarize my weekly schedule," which is a weird thing to want. But when he showed us the types of prompts that you would write in order to do this, I wrote this in my notes. It's on my work computer. It's going to be part of one of my evaluations. But one of the things that he wrote in his prompt before summarize my weekly schedule was telling ChatGPT to not be sycophantic, and he had a second word. It wasn't, I forget what the second word was, but he's like, I just tell ChatGPT to summarize my schedule in a non-sycophantic way, and I'm like, wait, why are you saying why do you have to tell it to do that? Being that this was a month and a half ago, and I've used a lot of chatbots now, I know why, because they seem to be at least default programmed to be sycophantic, to be utterly obsequious. They fawn. Oh, they're like, yes, master. Thank you for deigning to ask something of me. Does this please you, master? I just want you happy. I know I'm not always right, but just tell me what I did wrong so I can make it right. I don't know anyone who that doesn't creep out. Well, actually, I have no idea what people generally think of that. I find that really friggin' creepy. In the last couple of years, customer service reps on telephones have changed their script a bit to be, I imagine, what they think is more polite. But it comes off as, thank you for calling. I was so lonely. I so appreciate you deigning to give me, a lowly bug, the opportunity to assist you in whatever may ail you. I'm like, I'm exaggerating a bit for comedic effect, but it's along those lines, and it's, for me anyway, it's really off-putting. I'm like, just say thanks for calling, this is Jim. How can I help you? Thanks for calling whoever, this is Jim. How may direct your call, or how may I help? That's fine. I don't need you spending 20 seconds tongue bathing my genitals. I don't need to be warmed up. I don't want to be calling you in the first place. This doesn't put me at ease. This creeps me out. Please stop. And ChatGPT and others like it, oh man. Now, to be clear, you can write GPTs and agents and stuff to get them to mostly stop doing that fairly reliably. Not the point. Another thing that I learned from this guy was that it's best practice to tell ChatGPT and other chatbots to act like a knowledgeable source. Whatever he had us putting into ChatGPT, it was always prefixed with something along the lines of, so if you wanted to use ChatGPT as a travel agent to plan a week in Seoul, you would say something like, you are an expert professional travel agent with 20 years of experience and 3 awards celebrating how golly gosh darn good you are at this job. Put together for me do you like my pantomiming typing? Put together for me a week-long vacation for 2 in Seoul, and we will be walking most of the time. Another red flag, at least for me, is the fact that you it's best practice, at least, to tell ChatGPT to cosplay as someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about. ChatGPT, pretend you know anything about travel. ChatGPT, you are a professional nutritionist with 20 years of experience. Your health advice has never gotten anybody killed. Make for me a 7-day meal plan. And it'll do that. It will output something that, if you don't know any better, and most people don't, because to be fair, most people are not travel agents. Most people are not nutritionists. So when ChatGPT shits out a schedule, a week-long vacation schedule for, your two-person adventures and your walking vacation in Seoul, or a 7-day meal plan, most people who, of course, aren't nutritionists or travel agents, they'll look at that and go, yeah, that looks like a travel plan. That looks like a meal plan. That looks like what I'd expect. And it does. But as it says right under the box, you need to verify that it's actually accurate. Which, of course, is difficult for me to do because, again, I'm not a travel agent. I've never been to South Korea, so I don't know a damn thing about Seoul. It's telling me about all kinds of places. Do they exist? I don't know. Are they actually in walking distance? I don't know. Are they still open? I don't know. What week did you actually plan this for? I don't know. I'm a little weirded out that you didn't actually ask any clarifying questions. As an example, the week-long nutrition plan. Now, I'm a little bit more familiar with nutrition than I am about travel. And one of the things that, another red flag, something that bothers me about ChatGPT and other products like these, is they never, at least in my experience, ask clarifying questions. Particularly things that would be really important, really vital to know. Like if you asked a nutritionist to make you a 7-day meal plan, they're not just going to write up a meal plan, give it to you, and kick you out of their office. I mean, they're going to have a very bad Yelp review if they do that. They're going to ask questions like, what are your fitness goals? Do you have any allergies? That one seems kind of fucking important. You know? Are you looking to bulk? Are you looking to lose weight? Are you looking to maintain? What kind of foods do you like? What kind of a budget are you working with? What kind of time constraints do you have? Do you have the time to actually take an hour and a half to make dinner? Or do you want stuff that can be prepped within 20 minutes? Would you prefer a meal plan that has you cooking most of your meals for the week and putting them in Tupperware and storing them in your fridge? That kind of a thing. But it doesn't ask any of that. It just outputs a meal plan. Sometimes, depending on when you ask it, sometimes, especially if you tell it to cosplay as a nutritionist, it might include like calorie counts or protein, grams of protein per meal. Are those accurate? I don't know, because it's not my field. But as the guy running our AI workshop was made very clear throughout the entire thing, you have to be the human, because ChatGPT and other generative AI programs are not determinative, they're predictive. They're not looking up the answer. They're not referencing a database to retrieve information. They're a large language model trained on an unimaginable amount of data, and are using that to predict the words that are most likely to fulfill what you prompted. It's not determinative, it's predictive. So again, as he said over and over throughout the day, you have to be the human and make sure that ChatGPT is correct. Because as it says right under the prompt, it cannot be relied upon to be accurate. You have to be the human and you have to verify everything it says every time. That's a few more red flags there. So, it can be very difficult to figure out if ChatGPT is wrong or not, especially when you ask it stuff you don't know. Because why wouldn't you ask it something that you don't know? Some of us are curious creatures. We want to learn new things. Why would I ask ChatGPT something I already know the answer to? I'm more inclined to ask it about stuff I don't know, to ask it to do stuff that I don't know how to do. So when it responds, when it outputs its response to my prompt, I'm probably not equipped to validate whether it's correct or not. So how do I go about evaluating ChatGPT and other such tools? Well, what I've been focusing on is prompting it only things that I actually know, things I'm very familiar with or an expert in. Like I'll ask it about music. And in fact, I have a in-progress video. I prompted it to give me a chord progression for a barbershop tag. I have a whole video outlined, but it annoys me so much that I hate working on it. So I don't know if I'll ever actually get that one done. One of the things that ChatGPT and Copilot and the like can do is they can summarize your email for you. I don't know why you would want to do that. In fact, that's kind of insulting to me if you're using ChatGPT or whatnot to summarize my email. Because what you're saying is, oh man, Andrew just keeps writing these really long emails full of superfluous, unimportant bullshit. Please summarize it so I don't have to read the entire thing. That cuts deep, to be honest. Maybe I'm just fortunate where I work, but I have never, in the 3 years I've been working here, not once have I thought, oh man, I wish someone could just give me a summary of this person's emails because they're just too long and full of unimportant nonsense. That's never been a thing. And I definitely do not trust ChatGPT or the others to accurately summarize stuff. Or to not leave out stuff that's really important. You know, I work in technology. I'm a quality assurance analyst. The details are important. You can't summarize the business rules. You can't summarize the functional requirements document. I need all of that information. I need the details. Otherwise, I literally can't do my job. So why would I ever use this? One of the hardest things for me is trying to figure out a damn use case. Forget these things are inaccurate and can't be relied upon. I'm struggling to come up with like a single use case. Like, let's pretend that this thing is an amazing technology that always gives the correct answer. What would I even use it for? I'm not even sure. You know, I was testing most of the, so I've actually tried summaries, and the summaries are almost always the same length as the source. Because it keeps adding superfluous shit to its summary. Kind of ironic, if you ask me. Some other things is it can, now to be clear, we do have like a newsletter. That's on our main webpage. and we do get emails every week or so summarizing all the articles that are on the that have been published this week, and it's a fairly long email. Should that be summarized? I don't think so, because it's already a damn summary. It's a summary of different articles. You just scroll through and you go, oh, that looks interesting. You click it and you read it. If it's not interesting, you don't. What? It's already a summary. So, what model of GPT am I reviewing? It's 4. That's the main one. I do have access to some of the olders, and what's 4.5 I think is the beta new one. So 4 is the general one that we're all looking at, but we do have the ability to check out a couple of the different, some of the older ones and some of the newer ones too. Where was I? Oh, so I looked at, Chat or Copilot, more likely if you're using like Outlook. It can write your emails for you. Okay. Except here's the thing. No, it can't. Unless you genuinely don't care what you're sending to your colleagues. And if that's the case, okay. you know, um, I mean, if you're just looking for a very quick response, because I just an acknowledgement that I read it, thank you. You can already set up auto replies that either auto replies or I forget what it's actually called over there, but kind of like a macro that will it's a template. A template. You might not be what it's called, but you can use a couple different templates to choose how it responds. Or I guess you could use Copilot. Dear Copilot, okay. Respond to this email, politely respond to this email telling them that I've read it and that I appreciate their hard work. Well, by that point, you could have just said, thank you, I understand, I appreciate your work, good job, and hit send. You're not saving any time. I mean, maybe it's useful if you're whatever the main language the company you work for is using is not your first language and not a language you're comfortable in. Maybe it's good at translating. Maybe you could write something comfortably in whatever language you're most comfortable and tell it to translate it into English or whatever. Maybe it works like that. Or you could actually use a translation utility that's built specifically to do that and is almost certainly more accurate. So I actually did try Copilot's draft thing, and I found it's no quicker to... Because it can't... When it writes an email for you, you have to tell it everything you want it to say, and again, at that point, you may as well just write the damn email yourself. So, but another feature that it has is, I forget what it's called. It's, Coach. It can coach you. So you can write an email and then select Coach, and it will examine your email and give you categorized suggestions on how you might improve your email. That's interesting. Okay, cool. And to be fair, the advice that it gives is generic, but generally benign. Occasionally weird, because I had it for what I did was I wrote an email, and then I just kept hitting the coaching button over and over, just refreshing the suggestions just to see what would happen, and it'll eventually give contradictory advice. At one point, it'll say, "Hey, you should use more contractions." But if you hit it again, it might say, "Hey, you shouldn't use so many contractions." I mean, it's just advice. Take it or leave it. I was particularly amused by the point when it said, "Hey, you know what would make this more readable? If you used bullet points, particularly right here. Oh, right there, where I'm already using bullet points? Huh. Thanks. Very helpful. Um, so can't say I'm particularly impressed with the coaching, but if you're I do have a professional writing background, so I'm maybe more comfortable writing than many others. If one isn't, then maybe they might find the coaching tool, or they write something, put it in, and say improve this. I haven't tried that one myself, but I've had other people use that and send me the befores and afters. And 201, I don't think it's an improvement. In fact, if this were like a high school English class and I were grading Copilot, I would give it some negative marks in a few cases. Some examples that stick out in my mind is we have our bugs or our defects or our enhancements are called PIRs, problem incident report, and they're sequentially numbered. So I'm working on PIR 12345. Copilot doesn't understand that nomenclature. So when it suggested, I think it was Mingli, it doesn't matter who it was. So when it suggested improve, so when it rewrote her original email, it phrased it as, I was working on the PIR 12345, and yeah, we would never phrase it that. I am working on PIR 12345, not I am working on the PIR 12345. It also said something funny that sticks in my head. It said if this, it was something about we're talking about some defect that happened and couldn't be reproduced. I think was the scenario that she was talking about in her email, and the Copilot written response said, if this reoccurs in the future, then we'll do stuff. And I'm like, if it reoccurs in the future? When the hell else in this context would it reoccur? In the past? I mean, it's not a big deal, honestly, but again, if that was a writing assignment turned into me, I would have redlined that. I would say, what do you mean? It's like one or the other, man. In this context, a reoccurrence is obviously going to be a future event. You do not need to clarify that a reoccurrence is going to be a future event, because with context, it can't be anything but. So, no, I can't say I'm particularly impressed with Copilot's writing. I also I touched briefly on barbershop, something I'm very knowledgeable about. So when it says wrong things, I recognize them immediately, and oh heavens, was it wrong? But if you don't know barbershop and you're a budding musician and you're like, you know what, I want to try my hand at writing a barbershop tag, but I'm not sure where to start. ChatGPT, what's a chord progression for a barbershop tag? That gives me a good place to start. Now, something that's interesting about ChatGPT is it will usually give you way more information than you actually ask for. If you asked me for a chord progression, I'd be like 27571. There you go. Have fun. 174 back to 1, right? But what it does is it'll say, thank you for asking me that and allowing me to elucidate your musical knowledge. Barbershop is, and then it will provide like a paragraph describing what barbershop is and the types of sounds and chords that typify that particular style of music. And then it'll say, here is a typical chord progression for a barbershop tag, and it will list out the actual, it will pick a key, it picked a key, B flat, which is a common barbershop key, great. And here's the chords. 6 minor 7, 2 7, 5 7, 1 7. And then it goes on to talk about why it ends on a 1 7 being the dominant seventh chord, which is the shining star of the barbershop repertoire. That it's that chord that gives you that barbershop sound, the dominant seven, the flatted seven. It's a major triad with a flatted seven. That's the dominant seven, the barbershop chord. And then it went on to actually break down each chord into its individual voicings. It's like, okay, so for this chord, you'd have the bass here and the lead here and the baritone here and the tenor here and so forth and so forth. And it's like, wow, all I said was, I want a chord progression. It gave me all this stuff. That's amazeballs. And I know enough about music and barbershop to recognize that, yeah, barbershop is about ringing chords. And yeah, the dominant seven is the prototypical barbershop chord. And I know enough about barbershop chord progressions to know that it typically follows the circle of fifths. So let's see, 6, 2, 5, 1. Yeah, that's following the circle of fifths. So this looks great. ChatGPT is amazing. Ah! And you would be forgiven for thinking that, particularly if you have no or little knowledge about barbershop. But if you do know about barbershop, if you are, say, knowledgeable enough to actually arrange your own music in the barbershop style, like I am, like a big enough dork that I actually have a bookshelf full. Let me show you some dorky books. Show and tell time! Let's see. Here's the barbershop arranging manual. This one's as old as I am. This is a really old one, but here's a book on harmony. You can kind of see it says harmony. Here's an entire book on counterpoint. This is a dry as fuck read, I tell you. That one's really boring. Here's the technique of orchestration. Yeah, so I'm a big damn music dork. So when I read ChatGPT's output, when all I asked it was give me a chord progression, I could immediately tell everything it did that is 100% inarguably incorrect. You never end a barbershop tag on the dominant seventh. Ever. You end it on a major triad almost always. If someone asks you to give you a barbershop tag chord progression, you would never end on 1-7. Ever. No one would ever do that. Never say never, but yeah, you don't do that. Also, 6 minor 7? 6 minor 7, you say? Probably not, no. Certainly not if you're just giving a typical chord progression for a barbershop tag. No, it'd just be a 6-7. The only times you would use a 6 minor 7 is if the melody happened to be on the flatted third, or if the voice leading really forced you to make that a minor chord. But this is just a typical chord progression. We don't actually have the melody here. Also, remember I told you it actually broke down each chord into its voicings? It spelled 2 of the 4 chords wrong. So the dominant 7th chord has 4 notes in it. 1, 3, 5, and 7. If you didn't know, but you had to guess, and you have to guess, which one of those notes, 1, 3, 5, and 7, do you think is the most important note in the 7th chord? Could it be the 7th? Yes, it is. Because if you don't have the 7th, unless you're doing something weird with an implied harmony, it's not a 7th chord. Like, maybe if your implied harmony is a seventh and you're doing like an add 13, which would be right next to a flatted seven, you would drop the flatted seven and probably also the fifth and double the root. But that's not what this is. It doubled the root, had the 3 and 5. There was no 7. It's just a major triad. So that was wrong. The next one, the 2-7, it had the 7th in it, but it doubled the root again and dropped the 5th. Why? Who the hell knows? Why is this an open chord? So I have been making a habit of every time I ask ChatGPT to do something, I make sure it's something that I'm very familiar with so I can know when it's wrong. How often is it wrong? Almost every time. I asked it, one of the things that I use in my writing, particularly if I'm writing poetry or lyrics or something, is I use a rhyming dictionary. Well, you could ask ChatGPT for a rhyme. So I asked Chat, you might have seen this on Twitter, I asked ChatGPT for a rhyme for banana. And it said, manana. And then it wrote in parentheses, Spanish for tomorrow. And I was thinking to myself, you mean mañana? There's a fucking enye in it. It didn't write the little squiggly line above the N to make it an enye. It was just rhyme for banana? Sure, manana, Spanish for tomorrow. I was like, what in the hell? And then I went, wait a minute. ChatGPT, what is the Spanish word for tomorrow? And it says, mañana. God damn it. Oh my god. And everyone is so excited about this shit. Hey, Lindy! Manana. Not that I know Spanish. I barely know any Spanish, but I do know that tomorrow's mañana. Hasta mañana. M-A-N-Y-A-N-A. It does not rhyme with banana. Banana, mañana. Or mañana. It's not an and it's very English pronunciation. But yeah, just because the words end in the same couple of letters doesn't mean they rhyme. So yeah, once again, you could use ChatGPT as a rhyming dictionary, but you'd be better off using an actual rhyming dictionary. And then you get fun words like, I don't know, Savannah, Oh, banana. From the ABBA song? There's lots of ABBA songs. Is there a... I wouldn't be surprised if that word features in one of their songs. It's not coming to me, though. So, back to the oh, here's another funny one, because it's music related. I wrote a little treatise on K-pop Demon Hunters, which I think is a pretty swell movie. And I had... This one might have been Grok. I forget which one it was, but I had one of these things summarize or talk about... I forget exactly how I prompted it, but asked it to summarize or tell me about what I wrote. And in its summary, which was about 3 times longer... It had mentioned one of the songs in K-pop Demon Hunters. And it says that, Andrew is fawning over this work and talking about how excellent the songs are, and it had, and is going into detail about the particulars of the songs and why they're striking such a chord, not just with American audiences, but international audiences. And then it started getting into the specifics of one of the songs, talking about how this is great, and this is great, and the chromatic modulation just takes it to another level, which is and is really connecting with blah, 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 big long thing. And one of many things that stuck out to me was the fact that it said that it had mentioned the song's chromatic modulation. Don't worry about what that means if you don't know. The point is, that particular song doesn't have a fucking key change in it, so not only is there no chromatic modulation, there's no diatonic modulation either. So why the Great Greasy Biscuits did it? Because I had not mentioned anything about any type of key change or modulation in my work. It just brought that up out of nowhere. Why? Because it's a large language model. And chromatic modulation is probably something that is quite frequently mentioned in praise of pop music, maybe even particularly Korean pop music. And so it predicted, remember, the output is not determinative, it's predictive. It predicted that there was a very high likelihood that this would be an accurate, not necessarily accurate, but a good thing to say. Right? It's like, I mean, I've got all this data showing people talking about chromatic modulation in relation to praise for Korean pop songs, so I'll just put that here. I predict that would be the most likely thing to do. According to the chatbot itself, when pressed, and again, it's not a person, it doesn't think, so who the hell knows? But I asked it, where in the song is the chromatic modulation? And it told me, I have no idea because I have no access to the score nor any structural breakdown of the song. No idea if that's true, but that's particularly funny. If you want to treat this as a person, what they just admitted is they asserted as true not only something they didn't know to be true, but something that they couldn't possibly know to be true. That's a double lie. But if you just enjoyed K-pop Demon Hunters, and I hope you did, it's a pretty spiffy movie. I like it. And you just ask ChatGPT or something about it, and it's like, hey, why are people connecting with it so much? You might come away, you're fairly likely, I would estimate, to come away with some incorrect information, like there's chromatic modulation. And you might repeat that, trying to sound smart, like in Press a Date. Imagine you're out at the bar and you're like, hey, you sexy person sitting there being sexy, let me tell you about the chromatic modulation in this song in K-pop Demon Hunter. And the object of your affection will look at you like you're a brainless ass and say, you fool! I've seen the movie, I've heard the song, and I know there's no modulation in it, chromatic or diatonic. Now leave in shame and disgrace, for you will get no nookie tonight, or henceforth. And lo, generative AI has just destroyed your sex life. I hope it was worth it. ABBA has a song called Hasta Mañana. Do I know that one? Yeah, not ringing any bells. If I remember, I'll have to look it up later, see if it's one I'm just not remembering. Lindy says, I love K-pop Demon Hunter. I can't stop listening to the soundtrack. It's solid. Like, I wasn't expecting much. Like, I saw the trailer a few months ago. And it's like, K-pop Demon Hunter. I'm like, oh, demon hunters disguising themselves as a pop group. Oh, that's fun. And then it's like, oh, but the demons, they create a rival boy band. I'm like, that's a funny idea. I'm in. And then I watched it, I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. And all of my favorite YouTube cover artists are covering the crap out of the soundtrack to K-pop Demon Hunter. Lindy, you doing any K-pop Demon Hunter art? I haven't checked out your stream or your social medias recently. How to do that? I bet they'd be very cool. Let's see. What else are we? What else? Oh, so we're going through the workshop, and this guy drills it into our heads. The guy is really the guy who's leading the workshop. Very enthusiastic about AI, but very honest. I'll give him credit there. He was very clear and drilled it into our heads throughout the entire day-long workshop. It's not determinative, it's predictive. You have to be the human. You have to verify that the output is correct every time. And when our upper management people would excitedly say, "Oh my God, this is so amazing," we could like upload all of our business rules and then have a really convenient repository that we could reference. And he'd go, "No, that's not how it works." Again, it's not determinative, it's predictive. It's not going to look up and return whatever business rule you're querying. It's going to use its training data along with the information you gave it to predict what the answer is. So you're still going to have to make sure that its output is correct. And you know how they reacted to that? Like they didn't even hear it. No matter how many times he made it, and he went over like really horrible stuff that, we've probably all heard in the news media about people getting suicidal ideation from chatting with one of these things, medicating themselves in a way that got them hurt, multiple instances, amazingly, of lawyers submitting briefs created by ChatGPT with non-existent citations. I mean, there were citations in it, but the things that they were citing just didn't exist. According to this case, Ben versus Jerry, 1991, and the judge or whoever would be like, and look that up and go, that doesn't even exist. He was clear about all this. I'm like, to me, the more I learn, the more the workshops I attend, it's like you're warning. I mean, if you want to be warned off of generative AI, read the accuracy section of the terms of service. It's basically screaming at you, please, for the love of cute fluffy kittens, do not use this. It cannot be verified to be accurate. You're going to get someone hurt or killed. My supervisor is using ChatGPT and keeps complaining about the fact that when he's trying to create like PowerPoint slides, it keeps misspelling things and can't correct it. Stop using it then. I'm starting to notice when people are using, like I'm seeing it a lot in presentations and Zoom calls and stuff and PowerPoint decks and stuff, because I'm seeing all these elongated hyphens, which ChatGPT and other generative AI chatbots really like, these elongated hyphens. If I see an elongated hyphen, there's a very high probability that this is the output of a chatbot, because the elongated hyphen is not a key on the keyboard. You would have to know the alt code for it. You'd have to consult a character map. I have no idea how the hell to do that. I don't know why it would so frequently use a character that's not on the keyboard, not on a standard keyboard anyway. The little icons that it prefixes bullet lists, and anytime it does a heading, it prefixes it with some smart little icon, like a light bulb or a check mark or a warning sign. I'm recognizing these goddamn things now. I wonder if they were actually custom made for these utilities or if they were just taken from the internet. I have no idea, but I'm recognizing them now and I don't like it. Another thing he did is he tried to compare a cost of living adjustment to the current inflation rates. And he shared that with the team, all proud. It's like, oh, look, the cost of living adjustment isn't as high as inflation. La 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 la. We're getting screwed. Blah 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 blah. So now, inflation this is not my area of expertise. I had to do some research in it, but in my research, I couldn't find that number. I found what I think are the right numbers, and I tried to figure out where the hell it actually got the number it gave him from, and I have no idea. I may have just predicted a number. Um, who the hell knows where it came from? But I told him that. I said, hey, where'd you get this nut? Because he didn't say he got it from ChatGPT, but I knew. So I talked to him offline. I'm like, hey, not my area of expertise, but I've been doing some digging, and where'd you get this number? Because I can't find it anywhere. My understanding is that the inflation rate is calculated this way, and here's the data that it's derived from. Here's 3 independent sources that are all agreeing with how this information is calculated, and I'm not getting the number you are. So where'd you get your number? And he goes, ah, gosh darn it, I got it from ChatGPT. I guess it was wrong again. Is he going to stop using it, though? No. One of my other coworkers is doing something I've tried too, trying to write a GPT and in Copilot what's it called, agent? I think so. In order to get it to write test steps for test cases. Maybe Mashir's going to have better success than I at that, but in my tests, it literally cannot do that. Understandably so, because it has no way to access our application. It doesn't know how the application works. It doesn't know what the pages look like. It doesn't know what the buttons are or where it's or what they're called. You know, it's like, it can figure out reading business rules. It can say, well, start a retirement and do this and then do that. It's like, great, what are the steps to do that? It can't do that. Maybe it could do scenarios, but I've also seen people do tests with trying to get ChatGPT to write business requirement documents and functional requirement documents, and they are utterly useless because they are simultaneously vague enough to be utterly useless. Again, this is tech shit. It has to be really specific and precise, and also in some cases just wrong. Like we were creating a new interface file for something to do with death reporting, and they gave all the business rules for the entire module and the PIR that was created, which described what we needed. Keep in mind that it hasn't been designed yet. We've just described what we need. So we put in the description, or well, she put in the description of what we need, along with the design specifications and the business rules governing this module of our application, and said, write me a BRD. It did. And she's like, oh, that's so much faster. And she asked us all to review it. And I said, this is not this blunt, as polite as I could. I said, this is unusable because it is uselessly vague. And also some of the stuff in here is flat out wrong. She also had it write test cases with test steps. One of them, I recall, just used an error message from a related module. It's like, if this, make sure this error message fires. Cool. Is that the error message we would use in this case? Maybe. Maybe not. Don't know. Hasn't been designed yet. So, who the hell knows? It's one of the things one of many things I don't like about these programs is when it doesn't know something, it's not inclined to say so. It'll just make something up. It won't say, I can't do that. I don't know. Rarely will it ever admit that it can't give you information because it doesn't have access to it. I've seen that a couple times. Like it mentioned when I asked specifically where the modulation was in one of the K-pop Demon Hunter songs. It said, I don't know, I don't have the score. My favorite bit of the BRD is when it decided to write the file layout for the new interface file. One of the things that it forgot was the name of the file. The file name. Seems like kind of an... You would think that it would be honest enough. Again, that's anthropomorphizing, but, it would be honest enough to just, file name colon, leave it blank until someone else leaves it in. You know, here are the fields, leave that blank, whatever you want to do. I don't have that information. But it didn't do that. It just made up a file layout without a file name. Now, one of my favorite things is some of the fields that it came up with. Some of them seem reasonable, like data death. Yeah, I imagine that's going to be in our death interface file somewhere. Seems reasonable. The person ID, yeah, I imagine that'll be in there too. But again, at no point has anyone designed the file layout, so it's just making stuff up. Or more accurately, it's predicting what words in what order will fulfill your prompt. My favorite fields were miscellaneous info. What would go in there? Cookie recipes? How it also didn't. It's like, is there a delimiter on this file? Is it a fixed width file? Didn't say. But miscellaneous info was one in my absolute favorite, etc. I've worked with a lot of interface files over the last few years. I have never seen an etc. field. As a large language model, I'm wondering where the hell it got that one from. I've not seen every interface file in the world. Maybe that's a common field. It's just not in use in my organization, but doesn't seem likely. It does it like elongated hyphens as much as Trails likes ellipses. Lindy likes Your Idol from K-Pop Demon. I think my favorite might be the first one. How It's Done. I like it better. Golden seems to be the standout. It seems to be the one that they're submitting for awards consideration. Deservedly so. It's a great song. I particularly like that that weirdly intervaled melody on the pre-chorus. The ba, 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 ba. Hang on a second. That one. Really cool walk-up. I like that. It's like an octave and a half wide, too. It's really neat. But I still maintain that How It's Done is the better song. I might even put Takedown ahead of Golden. Not sure. I have to think about that. But yeah, so Lindy's drawn in her sketchbook. Oh, okay, cool. Love to see it. Jared says, I'd send you a video of AI characterizations in writing that I watched if you want. Okay. Let me think. What? Man, I had a whole list of topics of stuff that I've just been ranting about. Thank you for letting me get this off of my chest, because this is a really demoralizing, frustrating thing I've been dealing with at work, and I don't have anyone to whine to. It's so frustrating, because everyone at work is like, oh, this is so amazing. I'm like, it's really not. What are you seeing that I don't see? That's one of the things that I'm trying to be as open as possible, open-minded as possible about this, because everyone is so gung-ho about this shit. It makes me feel like I'm in the wrong, and maybe I am. I hope I am. And I'm just missing something, and I'm just, I'm too stubborn to see it. I don't know. I need to shave. Let's see. One thing that that I tried a couple days ago was I had tried code stuff. I'm like, write a SQL query that does this. It's terrible at doing that, partially because it has no idea what your database structure is. So if you want to prompt ChatGPT or one of these to write you a SQL query or some function in JavaScript or something, you're going to have to be extraordinarily precise in your prompting. You're going to have to tell it like the exact table names and the exact data names and stuff like that, and how they relate to each other. And again, at that point, I'm just like, write the damn query yourself. So also, I've had it write just generic queries, and I just pulled up starts with an O. There's an online virtual database that you can use just to test and learn SQL, right? I forget what the hell it's called. But I'd have ChatGPT write simple queries for stuff, and I'd plug it in, and half the time they just wouldn't work. Sometimes I'd be able to identify whatever the error was. I'm a moderate SQL jockey. I'm a novice. I'm okay. I can write some SQL. It's not my job, so I use it a little bit in my job to find test data and to stage data for testing and stuff like that. But I'm not like writing the queries that drive the selection criteria for the various batches that we run and stuff like that, right? So my SQL foo is not particularly high level. So I'm trying to keep it simple because if it's too complex, I won't be able to tell what's wrong. But, you know, I try to get it to write simple SQL queries or JavaScript statements, and a lot of the times it just comes up with syntax errors. And the guy in the workshop was, again, right up front about this stuff. And he's like, you can get it to write code for you. Isn't that cool? Oh, his first thing was, you can get it to write Python. Hey, tell it to ChatGPT, you're an expert Python coder with 20 years of experience. It's like, I don't want to write this every time. Write me a Python script for something. And it did. And I'm like, I have no idea how to write Python, so I have no idea if that's correct or not. So I started trying JavaScript and C and C++ and SQL and this stuff like that. And it's not good at doing that at all. And what he said is, now it will probably not do it correctly the first time, but if you then tell it that you got a syntax error or something and to refine it, eventually you might get something that's close to what you want. But again, the guy running our workshop says, you have to be careful because you don't want it to accidentally use a function that's being used by something else and might use it in a wrong way that could destroy your whole system and blow up the world. I think it might be better to just write your own goddamn SQL query, but maybe it's just me. But I did have some success, to end on a positive note. I did have some success in getting SQL to modify an existing query that I had already written. So I said, modify this query to add this parameter. Only I had to write like a solid paragraph being exceptionally specific on exactly how, what new parameter I wanted added, exactly what table it comes from, exactly what the name of the data is, because otherwise it would screw it up. And to ChatGPT's credit, it seems to be okay, at least for fairly simple functions and queries, modifying existing ones as long as you are very specific about what you want it to do. But even then, it still occasionally does really weird stuff. For example, randomly aliasing a few of my selected columns. So when you write a SQL query, essentially you're like, go to these tables and get me this data and display it in these columns. Sometimes your columns might have weird names because it's a table in a back end. It might say a product underscore value, and it's like, just call it a price, right? So you can use a keyword to alias it so that when it outputs, it's in a column called price instead of, what did I say, product underscore value, right? You can do that without me prompting it to do so. ChatGPT sometimes will just alias some of my stuff, and not in ways I particularly like. I didn't ask it to do that. It didn't do it for all of them. It just picked two, and it's like, I'm going to rename these two columns. Why? I mean, it's not a big deal. It doesn't really hurt anything, I guess. But again, so I guess you could, if you are writing SQL or a JavaScript function or something like that, and you have a brain fart on what the keyword is or what the proper syntax is, I suppose you might have some success using ChatGPT or one of them to help jog your memory. Of course, you'd probably be better off consulting an actual source that was developed specifically to address such issues. But I was watching something on some streaming service that does commercials. And one of the commercials was an AI utility, an AI chatbot. It wasn't ChatGPT. I don't remember which one it is. But the scenario was there's some young college student. She's sitting there in her dorm room going, "Oh my gosh, I'm looking on my PC and I can't find my lecture notes from today. Oh heavens, I may as well cast myself into the sea, for all is not." And the commercial narrator said, "Please don't do that. The show that this person is watching is, rated TV everybody." I forget whatever, I'm making stupid jokes. So the narrator comes on and says, "Well, small college child, you are in luck because your computer has this AI chatbot on it, and you can ask this AI chatbot where your notes are." Isn't that cool? I mean, you have to know the exact file name of your notes, because otherwise it doesn't know what the fuck you're looking for. But, if you remember what exactly the file name was, it's probably like today's notes or lecture notes or something like that. You can type into this chatbot, and it will search your entire PC for the file. Isn't that nifty? And she's like, "Oh, I found my file. Thank goodness. Now I'll pass my class and be able to get a good job and afford a house and start a family." And the narrator just started laughing. It's like, no. Yeah, that's not how the world works today. Sorry, kid. And I'm sitting there thinking, just do a fucking file search. Windows Explorer, dipshit. What are you doing? Hell, all of the modern operating systems by default, I think when you open up Windows Explorer or the Mac equivalent, it defaults to a recent files folder. That's probably where it is. And even if you didn't have a recent files folder, you have Windows Explorer, and I forget what the hell the Mac equivalent is, where you can just search for the files. It's going to be a recent one. You could just, search it by date. If you know what it's, just search. But no, the concept here is, no, man, you don't want to use the built-in functionality. You want to give our generative AI tool access to your entire computer. Yes, that would be better. Let us in. Let us stick our greasy little tendrils into every portion, every square inch of your computer. Input, Stephanie. Input. Red flag. That seems like a really bad idea. Like, don't do that. That's so, yeah. Except the Windows one rarely works. Um, I've never had a problem with it. Also, I mean, if you're looking for a file from today, again, recent files, just it's probably right there. Uh, check the trash. Did you accidentally delete it? So I had a whole list of stuff I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about butts in video games. That would have been much more interesting. I was going to talk about Code Violet, Wuchang, Fallen Leaves, Stellar Blade and butts in video games. Maybe we'll talk about video game butts and those games next week. But I would like to leave off with why I titled this podcast the way I did. Something I was wrong about. So I have frequently complained that the drive-in near-ish me constantly double features the same movie with itself. Like, I would like to go see Superman, but I'm not paying full price to see a double feature of Superman. I'm sure it's great. No matter how good it is, I probably don't want to watch it again immediately after watching it. Like, can't you just double feature it with Jurassic Park or something? You know. But no, they've got Superman showing a double feature on one screen and Jurassic Park showing a double feature on the other screen. It's like, here's what you do. On screen one, Superman's the 8 o'clock show. Jurassic Park is the, Jurassic World is the 11 o'clock show. And then on screen two, get this, Jurassic World is the 8 o'clock show and Superman is the late show. Ah? Yeah! No, we're just going to have two showings of Superman on the same screen, two showings of Jurassic World on the same screen. And that's going to make us more money somehow? No, because I'm staying home. So you make less money. So I've been complaining about that because they've been doing that crap for years. And I figured it was probably the drive-in just deciding to do that. Well, like the title of this podcast says, I was wrong. And that's something normally I'd be happy to be wrong, because I'm usually talking about stuff I don't like, and I'd love to be wrong about stuff that's just bad. But in this case, it doesn't really matter because the end result is the same. So, according to South Bay Drive-In itself, why are some of the movies double featuring with themselves? And they say it's due to studio contracts. Some of the movies have to be single billed. It's usually the blockbusters. But they will likely be double features after a couple of weeks. If they're still showing, which I've had a bunch of movies that I've been interested in seeing, but they're out of the drive-in by the time they might have double featured with another movie. But Superman and Jurassic World are double featuring with each other this weekend at the drive-in. So I'm probably going to go see Superman and, I think Jurassic World is first. So Jurassic World and Superman tomorrow night at the drive-in. So yippee skippy. So I was likely wrong about that. Unfortunately, that doesn't change anything, because the studios apparently are like, no, you can show our film, but you can't show it with any other film. You've got to show our film twice on the same screen. Even though that would make us less money, because if you showed our film twice by having it one on one screen and one at a later time on another, that would give people more opportunities and make it more likely that they'd actually come to the theater in the first place. But either the studios are very dumb and short-sighted, or maybe the economics of this stuff is more complicated than a layperson like me, who has absolutely no experience or training in this domain, knows. I certainly hope it's the latter, and they're not just all really stupid. This is really easy. I could run a studio. I mean, maybe AI should take over CEOs' jobs. It seems like a pretty easy thing to do that's based on all modeling and prediction. Right? Does Bobby Kotick actually do anything? I think he could be replaced with AI. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? You don't have to pay it $30 million a year. So you're saving a lot of money right there. And hey, if you're saving $30 million just replacing the Bobby Koticks of the world with AI chatbots, you might not have to fire hundreds or even thousands of your employees every single year. Boy can dream. All right, so I'm done complaining. I'm gonna eat dinner now, and then I'll pace back and forth in my apartment and complain to myself. No, that's a joke. I definitely don't do that. That would be very sad. So, join me tomorrow, noon Pacific Standard Time, for some more Cold Steel 2. I did some off-screen grinding. Everyone's around like level 77 now, I think. Mainly, I did that just to build up my stock of U material because I need a lot of it because I want to make some accessories that cost like 30 U material apiece. And of course, it depends on if it will let me take Laura or Emma with me. Maybe I'll only be able to take one, maybe both, maybe none. Who knows? So we'll find out together, or you'll watch me find out tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time. So, all right, that's it for me. I hope you had fun listening to me complain, and yeah, don't use generative AI. Because at least I mean, as a toy, maybe. I mean, you could get generative AI to rewrite, I don't know, the Star Spangled Banner as if it were recited by an old-timey stereotypical pirate or something. Put a lot of yars in the Star Spangled. That could be funny. But yeah, as if you're in a position, if you're like the money person at a business and you're thinking, should I spend ungodly amounts of money on generative AI licenses in an attempt to improve my work efficiency or work product? Well, if you're asking me, which you definitely shouldn't, I'm just some internet asshole, I'd say no, unless you genuinely don't value, accuracy. I mean, if it's like, hey, do it fast, just do something, just give me stuff. I don't care if it's correct. Okay. So, all right, that's it for me. Hope you have a lovely evening, and hope to see you all tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.